In 1999, 4 young men embarked on the adventure of a lifetime, setting sail across the vast Pacific Ocean. But a catastrophic storm turned their dream into a living nightmare, leaving them shipwrecked on a tiny deserted island. With no food, no water, and no hope of rescue, they had to fight for their lives against all odds. This is the incredible true story of how they survived for 15 months, a testament to human resilience and the unbreakable will to live. The journey began with high spirits. Sione, Fatai, Kolo, and Manu had been friends for years, united by a love for the sea. They meticulously planned their trip, a voyage from Tonga to Fiji. Their boat, a small but sturdy vessel they had worked on for months, was packed with supplies. They were young, full of energy, and ready to conquer the ocean. The first few days were idyllic. The sun shone brightly, the sea was calm, and dolphins often swam alongside their boat, as if wishing them well on their journey. They took turns at the helm, fished for their meals, and sang songs under starry nights. It felt like paradise. But the Pacific is as unpredictable as it is beautiful. On the 5th day, the sky turned a menacing shade of grey. The wind picked up, whipping the calm sea into a frenzy. The small boat was tossed around like a toy by colossal waves. The storm hit with a ferocity they could never have imagined. For hours, they battled the elements, their muscles straining, their hearts pounding with fear. The mast snapped with a sickening crack, and a massive wave crashed over the deck, swamping the boat and washing away most of their supplies. They clung to whatever they could, soaked to the bone and shivering, as their dream voyage turned into a desperate struggle for survival. After what felt like an eternity, the storm subsided, but their relief was short-lived. The boat was severely damaged, its rudder gone. They were adrift, lost in the immense expanse of the Pacific, with no way to navigate. Days turned into weeks. Their meager remaining supplies dwindled to nothing. Thirst became a constant, tormenting agony. Hunger gnawed at their insides. The sun beat down on them mercilessly during the day, and the nights were cold and terrifying. They collected rainwater in a small tarp and rationed it drop by drop. They tried to fish with makeshift hooks, but their catches were few and far between. They grew weaker, their bodies wasting away, but their spirits, though battered, refused to break. They supported each other, sharing stories of home, of family, and of the future they still hoped to have. Just as they were about to lose all hope, they spotted it, a speck of green on the horizon. Land. With their last ounces of strength, they paddled towards it. It was a small, uninhabited island, a volcanic rock covered in dense jungle. They had made it to land, but their ordeal was far from over. The island, which they later learned was called Ata, was a deserted, rugged place. It offered no easy salvation. Their first priority was to find water. After a grueling search, they discovered a small spring of fresh water seeping from the rocks. It was the most delicious thing they had ever tasted. Next came shelter. They built a crude hut from palm fronds and driftwood, a small refuge from the elements. Food was the greatest challenge. The island had birds, but they were difficult to catch. They learned to raid nests for eggs, a risky and heartbreaking task. They discovered wild taro and bananas, but these were scarce. They tried to hunt the wild chickens that roamed the island, but the birds were fast and cunning. The days blended into a monotonous cycle of survival. They divided tasks. Sione and Fatai were the hunters and gatherers. Kolo was the cook. And Manu, who had injured his leg during the shipwreck, tended their small garden and kept the fire going. The fire was their lifeline, providing warmth, a way to cook their food, and a beacon of hope in the darkness. They managed to start it using friction, a skill they had learned in their Boy Scout days, and they guarded it with their lives. Despite the hardships, they created a semblance of a community. They established rules to prevent arguments. They set up a gym with driftwood weights, a badminton court, and even a small garden. They prayed together every morning and evening, their faith a powerful anchor in the storm of their despair. They sang songs to lift their spirits, their voices echoing through the lonely island, a defiant cry against the silence. They never gave up hope that one day they would be rescued. Months turned into a year, and then some. They had survived a shipwreck, starvation, and the crushing loneliness of isolation. They had faced injuries, sickness, and despair, but they had faced it all together. Their friendship had been forged into an unbreakable bond in the crucible of adversity. Then one day, 15 months after they were shipwrecked, they saw it. A boat on the horizon. At first, they thought it was a mirage, a trick of their desperate minds. But it grew closer. It was real. They frantically lit a huge signal fire, sending plumes of smoke into the sky. They screamed and waved, pouring every last bit of their energy into being seen. The boat, a fishing vessel captained by an Australian named Peter Warner, spotted the smoke. He was skeptical, as the island was known to be uninhabited, but curiosity got the better of him, and he steered his boat closer. As he approached the shore, he saw them, 4 long-haired, wild-looking young men shouting with joy. He couldn't believe his eyes. He had stumbled upon the castaways of Arta, who had been presumed dead for over a year. Their rescue was a miracle. Their story of survival against all odds captivated the world. They were no longer just 4 boys from Tonga. They were symbols of human endurance, friendship, and the unyielding power of hope. Their time on the island had changed them forever, but it had not broken them. They had faced the very worst nature could throw at them and had emerged, not just as survivors, but as brothers. Thank you so much for watching. If this story inspired you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more incredible tales of human resilience. See you in the next one.